Hello and welcome to the very first episode of Knowledge Cafe by Inspiring Seniors Foundation, sir. It's my pleasure and honor to have you inaugurate our series. This series is meant to motivate and inspire uh, other seniors by sharing the stories of seniors like yourself. You need no introduction. We are having the pleasure of Dr. Vinod Kumar, who's a young, pioneering geriatrician whose work on healthy aging is very known to all of us. Thank you for joining us today. And it's really great to have my pleasure and honor to have you today with us.
Thanks for having me. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. And this series is to I'm sure your life story is motivating already many people, and I've seen some conferences where the young doctors are flocking to you to know have some guru gyan and tips. So maybe आज का जो guru gyan है वो seniors के लिए साधारण seniors के लिए है, not just for the doctors. So अगर हम start करें तो at the age of 87 you have seen post independence से लेके आज digital world we have entered generative AI. So what's one thing which you never imagined कि वो हमारी daily life का हिस्सा होगी?
Well, I think a lot of water has flown during the last 80 or 85 years, as far as our country and for that matter, the entire world is concerned. I would say that I have lived through World War II,
Okay.
partition of India, and also the Bangladesh War of 1971, and also the great pandemic of COVID-19. And what I've seen all these years, a lot of change. For example, the communication has become very fast. I remember previously we used to write a letter, it would reach after about 15 days, and now it is just a matter of seconds. And people are now trying to be very brief. Even in the emails, they would like not thanks, but only THX. So whole thing has completely metamorphosed during these years. And I think the mankind has also seen a great triumph in the form of demographic shift. Now, life expectancy of people around the world, and for that matter for India also, has tremendously increased. And this is a triumph, although it also throws the challenges. So that is something that I have witnessed. I would say that we have come from an era of deprivation to an era of abundance now.
Exactly.
So much so that in the olden days, I remember when I was a child, the staple food of a poor man was only onion, salt, and chapati. No vegetable, no dal. Today, what is happening? Onion is 50 rupees per kilogram, but the SIM card is free. And another thing that I noticed, that a pizza boy reaches your home earlier than an ambulance. So this is all what has happened. So I think a great transformation I've gone through to witness it.
Yes. So I think that's a very good quote. Pizza gets delivered before ambulance arrives. That's a very very nice way to sum it up. So if we were to sum up your entire life journey, in one word, what it would be?
Well, I would say I think I was born at a right place. I was born at a right date or right time, I should say. And I think it's very difficult to summarize the whole life in one word. But
okay,
I would
one sentence, Karen.
one sentence I will try. When I was young, and I thought at that time I had the power of youth, although making occasional blunders sometimes and mistakes. And later I realized that manhood is not only a struggle, but it is also giving a lot of lessons of life. And lastly, the old age is an opportunity never seen before.
Yes.
That's what I think. And I think all this way down, I have come across a multitude of people from whom I have learned a lot of lessons. So that is the minimum I can say about my life.
Okay, that was more than one sentence.
Yes.
There were 3, 4 at least.
Yes.
Okay. So मुझे ये जानना है कि आप बचपन से डॉक्टर बनना चाहते थे? Like what was, whether it was your parents who wanted to make you a doctor, and what early dreams of yours, led to being a geriatrician ultimately?
Well, I must admit that I had no childhood dreams. I think I didn't understand what the dream means at that time. But I must say that my parents infused me the dream of becoming a doctor. And that too in the era of deprivation around 1950s. And I'm very grateful to my parents for this. And I remember a lot of discussion taking place in the household how to make him a doctor, because
Okay.
it was, even then it was not an affordable journey.
Okay.
Somehow they managed to send me to a medical college after I worked hard and got into competitions for entrance examination. So this is how it all began. And I also clearly recollect that at one stage I had a financial difficulty in meeting the expenses of MBBS course.
Okay.
And but I would also like to say that I got what is called some financial aid from no one else except the first Prime Minister of India.
Oh, really?
Yeah, for
That's
some
very
part of
interesting.
MBBS course.
Wow.
And I was allowed to enter Teen Murti Bhavan to give thanks to Mr. Jawaharlal, Honorable Prime Minister of India. And he gave me about a 1 minute audience.
Okay.
And he told me the words which still echo in my ears: God helps those children who help themselves. This is what he told me. And then I think it got me a lot of motivation and impetus to work hard. And I went on and I started doing fairly well in successive examinations during the MBBS course. And once the MBBS was over, my MD was over. Now your question was, how did you get into geriatrics?
Yes.
A very interesting question, because geriatrics was absolutely unknown at that time. Well, I must say that I was a trained endocrinologist in diabetes.
Okay.
And
that's the area of specialization.
That is my area of specialization, and I continued doing it. But somewhere during the midlife of my academic stay in All India Institute of Medical Sciences, I came across certain events. For example, I once went abroad for some other reason, and I happened to visit a geriatric center, and I saw the plight of elderly patients there for the first time.
Okay.
Although as a doctor, I was already seeing a lot of patients here, both young and old, and I was not really realizing that the elderly patients have special plight. Okay. And they have special problems. It's not simply a medical problem. They have social problem, they have financial problem, they have psychological problem, emotional problem, spiritual problem, and whatnot. But I didn't realize it. Then a very fortuitous event happened that the director of All India Institute of Medical Sciences asked me to represent a group to carry out a survey of socio-economic profile of elderly people throughout the urban and rural landscape of this country.
Oh,
a
okay.
huge number of.
Which year was that, sir?
That was in 1985.
Okay.
And that was an eye opener for me, because I was sitting in repeated rounds among the demographers, among the social scientists, among the policy makers and program designers. I was very much impressed by their work. And then after we planned the survey and finalized the pro forma, the field workers, the army of field workers entered into the different areas of India and carried out a complete survey of this initiative during the next 1 year. So that was an eye opener for me. And that was the first time I realized that elderly patients are not simply medical patients, there are many other issues as well. And then I think a very fortunate incident happened to me. One of the professors of aging from London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine, he descended down to India, knocking doors to find out anybody there who works in geriatrics. And it was Indian Council of Medical Research which responded to his call, and gave me a telephone call that somebody has come here, go and meet him if you are interested. So I went running to him. We discussed a lot about aging, and he persuaded me to work for aging, but particularly its public health implications
ये किस
in
साल
this
की
country.
बात है सर?
That was 1991,
Okay.
to be exact, 1991. And this man then worked with me for next many years. We met each other in many countries till 2003. So we
Okay.
worked for about 10 years.
Okay.
And to my good luck, he was then elevated to the chief of the aging program at World Health Organization, Geneva.
Okay.
And he persuaded me to be a part of the advisory panel of WHO for 10 years.
Okay.
And that gave me a lot of knowledge about the cross-cultural aspects of aging, in addition to what is happening in our own country. And then there was no looking back. And then, of course, I had set up a unit of my own at the All India Institute of Medical Sciences, sent my staff abroad for geriatric training. And then there was, everybody said, well, it is very important branch and all that. And now it's for everyone to see.
So you feel very happy and satisfied now there are young doctors wanting to be geriatricians?
Yes, there are many, and I must say that I had started geriatrics in a very small manner, but my successors took it forward to a great height. And now we have lots of trained geriatricians in the country thanks to these successors. And not only the full-fledged departments have come up in various medical colleges, now the government has set up 3 national centers for aging. In All India Institute of Medical Sciences, there are 9-story building,
Yes.
which is giving a comprehensive multidisciplinary care to elderly.
Yes.
So it has this whole seed, which we tried to sow in a very small manner, has now grown and blossomed into a banyan tree. And now, government is also very much sensitive about the issues of aging and old people's health and care.
Yes.
So that is my journey as far as geriatric is concerned.
Okay. So let's shift the topic a little bit.
Yes.
I've often heard you saying that seniors are an asset, not a burden, right? That's a very powerful thought. Most of us do not look at them like that, right? So how did your life experience shape this belief? Is it your own life experience by virtue of which you believe that they are an asset and not a burden, or something else?
Well, I must say that during my academic stay at All India Institute of Medical Sciences, I did see a number of professors who are 5 to 10 years older than me, and they are still going strong. They are seeing patients, they are contributing in
90
different.
plus?
Yes, some of them are 90 plus, and I have been motivated even at the time when they were not senior citizens, but now I am even motivated more because they are 90 plus and they are still working. So this I think gave me a realization that old age is not a bar to contributing to nation building.
Correct, correct.
And
We strongly believe that, sir, at Inspiring Seniors Foundation, that's the core object, core concept that we want to, bring about is a change in the way we look at aging and the kind of, looking at senior citizens as a resource for the economy, for the country, not just, for themselves, of course. And
also, I would hasten to intervene here. I think during my stay, particularly during last 30, 40 years, I have seen lots of elderly people from various walks of life, whether they are academicians, whether they are policy makers, or they are sportsmen, or they have shown bravery, or they have shown exceptional mettle in the battlefield. I've seen a lot of senior citizens, if not directly, but at least I have read their story, I've seen their films, and I would like to name some people here.
Sure.
In our country, Mahatma Gandhi, he was an epitome of strong moral strength.
Yes.
And also, as a senior citizen, he continued to fight for non-violent ways of obtaining freedom for our country. Similarly, there are others. I happened to be in North Africa some time back, and I remember the hero of the freedom struggle in those countries
Nelson
was
Mandela.
Omar Mukhtar.
Okay.
Omar Mukhtar was the person who, from the age of 53, to age of 73 for 20 years. He continued fighting the colonial forces to get freedom for countries like Libya. And he also fought for the freedom of countries like Chad, Egypt, and so on. Finally, at the age of 73, he was captured by Italian forces and executed. But the grit and determination of such people.
Yes.
Now, recently, Jimmy Carter has just passed.
Yes.
Jimmy Carter, although he was not admired so much for his presidency, but he was admired very strongly, intensely for philanthropic work, for post-presidential leanings. He had wonderful
मुझे
leanings.
लगा कि आप शायद अमिताभ बच्चन जी का एग्जांपल भी देंगे
Amitabh Bachchan ji bhi, he has to be admired.
हमारे लिए तो बहुत ही इंस्पायरिंग
No
सीनियर
doubt,
है वो
no doubt.
बिल्कुल।
He is inspiring, but I am not giving an example because he is about 5 years younger to me.
ओके, तो यंग पे आते हैं। तो आपका जो एक एनर्जी और एंथुसियाज्म है जो कि हाफ एज का भी नहीं होगा, व्हाट्स द सीक्रेट फॉर दैट? देयर हैज टू बी सम सीक्रेट एंड वी वुड ऑल लाइक टू नो कि इतने शार्प एंड फुल ऑफ लाइफ आप कैसे मेंटेन करते हैं?
Well, I think my quick answer is that I do not know. But
ये तो शायद डॉज करने वाली बात है।
बट मैं तो ये समझता हूँ कि आप अपने खाने के बारे में ध्यान रखें, अपनी एक्सरसाइज के बारे में ध्यान रखें. You should also sleep soundly. You should have the ability to bust stress. You should not be smoking. You should not be drinking. All those things too well known to the medical community. But I think above all this, there are other things also. I think you have to be socially very enriching. That is number one. Number two, you have to follow what is called ethical conduct, if not the spirituality, but you should lead a life of what is called ethical conduct. Yama, Niyama, and all those kinds of things that are part of the 8 limbs of yoga and so on. That is another thing. And above all, you have to have a positive attitude. You should not be thinking that now you are old, so you have become fatalistic, nothing can be done. That's negativity that you should avoid. And I think all these things together will probably maybe playing a role. I can't say that, but I think this is what I would like to say.
Sure, it's definitely that makes sense. As patients, आप बहुत सारे patients को मिलते हैं, senior citizens को मिलते हैं. Are there any 3 lessons that some of those have kind of told you about graceful aging? Like आपके patients में अगर हम देखें तो कुछ common behavior होगा, for graceful aging. What would be that?
When we see the patients, we are treating them, and some of them are in a bad shape.
Okay.
We never think at that time that how he will be aging gracefully. But you asked me to enumerate 3 factors. So I would say that the most important factor to my mind, as far as my patients are concerned, is their ability to cope with stress.
Okay.
And possessing a high level of resilience. This resilience may be psychological resilience, it could also be medical resilience. By medical resilience, I mean that if they go into delirium, they might spring up.
Okay.
Some of them, they spring up with the same treatment approach that we have been giving to others also, but some they spring up. So this is a resilience of a kind. That is one thing which ultimately stands in good stead for a successful aging. The second thing I have seen, because when these patients come, in my time, they were surrounded by a multitude of their dear and near ones. Lots of people surround them on the bed. Now, of course, they are not allowed in hospital. But they seem to have a very strong social support system. Friends, relatives. And this social support system, in spite of some of them being very poor, this I think is a very important point for bringing them back to life.
Okay.
And of course, third, not so much from my patient, but from my people who have been talking to me about the aging, they themselves are aged. Many of them have an attitude which is very positive. In fact, I could make a brave statement about some researchers have said that what is aging? Aging is 80% attitude, 20% everything else. But I think this may be an overstatement, but Suffice it will be to say that a positive attitude is also something which I have seen in some of the senior citizens.
Age is just a number भी कहते हैं,
Yeah,
but
correct.
जो एज हो चुका हो उसको ही वो नंबर नहीं लगता है
बिल्कुल.
उसको रियलाइज होता है कि he or she has lived a long life and have had so many experiences.
If somebody asks me who is aged, I will always say anyone who is 1 year older to me is the aged. Not me.
Not you. Not you. You have often spoken about longevity के बारे में आपने बात करी है, सुपर एजर्स के बारे में आप बात करते हैं, आप खुद एक सुपर एजर हैं, राइट? तो और आपने कुछ आदतों के बारे में भी बताया कि दिस इज व्हाट कीप्स यू यंग एंड हेल्दी एंड but maybe you had a disciplined life, but what if I wasn't so disciplined in my young age? Can I be a super ager? Can I turn into a healthy senior now?
Sure, you can. Super ager by definition is the person who is in his 80s and 90s but have excellent cognitive skills, much better than a person of 50 or 60-year-old. In addition, many superagers are also having a good aerobic capacity. They have a better physical strength and physical tolerance. So this is what we call a superager. And I would like to give some examples here, both from abroad and from India. You might have heard a legendary author called Ruskin Bond.
Yes, of course.
And then there is another fellow who is a philanthropist, Warren Buffett.
Yes.
And another fellow, another lady, of course, relatively not so known. She is the first woman judge on Supreme Court of US, Sandra O'Connor.
Mhm.
And then there is another person very eminent, not known to so many people, Phil Horowitz. He is a 102-year-old person who wrote his memoirs purely from his memories since the age of 7 years.
Wow.
So, excellent cognitive skills. And then I think from our country, Ram Jethmalani is a good example.
Good example. Yes.
He used to exercise and play badminton at the age of 94 also. He was very sharp in his...
Even Khushwant Singh, I think, was
Khushwant Singh,
very
I will come to Khushwant Singh also, yeah, because I knew Khushwant Singh quite well myself. So you reminded me, it's good. Then I think Miss Vajanti Mala, she is 90s and comes for arts. And talking about Khushwant Singh, I think Khushwant Singh is a special example to me because I have seen him having good sessions with his friends when he was already 80, and I used to visit his house, not very frequently, but certainly occasionally. And I would see that in addition to his journalism skills, in addition to his authorship skills, he was a person who believed in healthy humors.
Very witty,
very witty person, very witty person. And I remember one joke which is attributed to him. He didn't narrate that joke to me, but I heard one of his jokes that somebody, for the first time flying from Delhi to Chandigarh, a rural person, he had never flown before, and he was allotted a middle seat, and he sat on the window seat. So the old lady came who had the middle seat. She said, gentlemen, that's my seat. You have to come in middle seat. He said, no, I want to see, I want to still sit in the window seat. I want to see what looks around outside. So air hostess came, air hostess tried to persuade that man, please come to your own seat. He says, no, I will still sit there. Then the pilot was called, and pilot said something in his ears. And as soon as he said in his ears, the man immediately changed and came back to middle seat. So some people asked the pilot, what did you say in his ear? He said, I told him, sir, only the middle seat is going to Chandigarh. The window seat is going to Jalandhar. So this is the power of joke. What Khushwant Singh used to tell.
So you spoke about superagers, the cognitive health. And I've also heard you आपको कहते हुए कि use it or lose it for not just the muscle but the mind also.
Right.
So and most of the seniors we see that that there is less emphasis on brain health. Somehow, I mean that I may be wrong. That and then how do they they kind of assume that as they're growing old, their mental faculties will decline, the physical faculties will decline. So how do they maintain their, brain health or cognitive health? How do they stay, healthy on that aspect?
I think that's a very important question, and why it is important is that I regard that brain is as important as our body, but I think brain is even more important than our body. The brain is the master orchestra for the body to function. That is the beauty of the brain. And brain also has what is called, if you don't use the brain, then you are going to lose.
Usually we say for muscles.
Yeah, you say for muscle, but that also applies to brain. And lot of people in increasing number and proportion all over the world are now suffering from what is called dementia.
Yes.
Dementia means when the brain dies but the body is alive.
Yes.
So they lose the power of comprehension, judgment, understanding. They also lose the power of making any valid decisions in their life. So they become vegetative, although their body is functioning. This all can be prevented. And how to prevent it? I think we have to tell the population, particularly that population segment, which is going to become senior citizen tomorrow, that they should start using their brain more intensively as their mental faculties are going to slow down. You know, in the young age, everybody uses the brain because of his work or because of any other things. In children also, they are using the brain. But as you become elderly, your mental faculties are likely to deteriorate, and that is the time when you not let go the usage of brain actively. And there are many ways to use the brain, and we can come to that later. But I think the main idea is that you have to inform the individuals who are aging that these are the methods how to use the brain and keep yourself active. Just few examples. You ask the person to start learning a musical instrument. And now a musical instrument, generally musical instrument involves the use of both hands, whether it is sitar, whether it is a guitar, whether it is a flute, whether it is a harmonium, anything. So using of both hands stimulates both sides of the brain. That is one.
Okay.
Secondly, when you try to learn a musical instrument, you stimulate your brain, you challenge your brain. When you challenge your brain, your cognitive power enhances. Same thing will happen if you try to imbibe a new language.
Yes.
You know, some people like to learn a new language. If you do a gardening, it's not just physical power and physical strength for gardening, but you have to plan a garden. If you plan a garden, then again you have to think, gamla kahan rakhe, wo cheez kahan rakhe. So these are all important things. Similarly, there are many other cognitive exploring the internet. Now, today's elderly, many of the elderly are not internet savvy. They do not know. They shy away from internet. They shy away from computer. They just tell their बच्चों को भाई हमारा online
But I
payment कर
guess
देना.
they're too addicted to WhatsApp and YouTube.
वो
Would you agree?
एडिक्शन जो है वो यंग लोगों में बहुत ज्यादा आता है. ओल्ड एज में एडिक्शन आएगा जब ये लोग पढ़े लिखे बन के ओल्ड बन जाएंगे.
गुड मॉर्निंग मैसेजेस खूब सारे भेजते हैं.
वो तो बड़ा आसान है. वो तो बड़ा आसान है. लेकिन आपको अगर पेमेंट करना है ऑनलाइन या आपको ड्राइविंग लाइसेंस रिन्यू करवाना है या हाउस टैक्स भरना है या इनकम रिटर्न भरना है तो वो बच्चों से कह देते हैं भैया मेरे बस का नहीं है आप ही करो.
They don't try to learn. I think they kind of have given up mentally, if I can say that.
बिल्कुल.
You know, they don't think that they can do it. They doubt their own capability, I guess, to learn new things, right? बच्चों को हम समझते हैं कि कुछ भी नई चीज सिखाओ वो फटाफट से सीख जाते हैं. But I think even elderly, I'm also learning, and I think that example you gave of internet and learning. I taught very recently. I taught my elder sister how to do Uber, and she felt very good after achieving it. Another example I'll give. हमारे यहाँ inspiring tutors एक program है. So we have teachers in the range, ranging. So 175-year-old teacher है जो maths पढ़ाते हैं 6th standard की बच्ची को. Maths बिना blackboard के होता नहीं है. So in Google Meet there is a whiteboard, So he learned that, and he felt so happy after learning it. He felt thrilled rather that he learned something. He's 75, and he has been a very successful engineer, scientist, a very brilliant career he has. So he felt very thrilled to learn something new.
The other end of the spectrum is that there are many learned people retiring as dean and director. वो भी ओल्ड एज में आके उनको बच्चे नजर आते हैं भाई हमारा ये काम कर दो ये कर दो. वो सीखते नहीं है वो, और जो सीखेगा नहीं वो उसका माइंड जो है वीक होगा.
बिल्कुल नहीं, ये तो डेफिनेटली आपने थोड़ी देर पहले बात करा गार्डनिंग का भी एग्जांपल दिया और काम का, तो in the western world, in NHS UK and Australia and US, I read that there is a concept of non-clinical social prescriptions where the doctor suggests to the elderly that you should do these activities like gardening or volunteering work or community engagements. हमारे यहाँ पे doctors are not recommending it as yet. So what it would take, because why I'm saying it, everyone says कि आपको active रहना चाहिए, you should be active, you should do this. But if a doctor says it, people are more compliant, people adhere to it more. So maybe I think it's part of the visible and invisible approach that you talk about to aging, isn't it?
Yeah, I think ये बड़ा important question आपने लिखा है, and frankly मैं इसके बारे में I was not even aware कि Western countries में there is a formalized system of what is called social
prescriptions. Yes.
But हम लोग जैसे आपने अभी कहा कि we are informally telling, even if you are not a doctor, you are often telling your friends कि भाई ये करो, वो करो, community काम करो, voluntary काम करो, ये सब करो, वो कहते तो हैं, but हमारे यहाँ formalized system नहीं है. Formalized system होना जरूरी है because social and spiritual engagement and also mental engagement, they are the three important pillars for healthy aging. It's not just simply having a balanced diet and exercise. बाकी चीजें भी important है, and they are relatively invisible approaches.
Absolutely.
विजिबल अप्रोचेस तो ठीक है, सबको पता है, बट इनविजिबल अप्रोचेस पे स्ट्रेस हमारे कंट्री में होना चाहिए और इसका फॉर्मुलाइज सिस्टम होना चाहिए. एंड आई वुड जस्ट टेक ए लिटिल व्हाइल टू एक्सप्लेन दीज इनविजिबल अप्रोचेस. अब जो सोशल का मामला है, सोशल एनरिचमेंट, वो बहुत जरूरी है. साइंस हैज शोन दैट सोशल इंटरेक्शन, the benefits, health benefits, are equivalent to obesity reduction and smoking cessation.
Okay.
That is important. Another thing, what we call is spiritual. Now, spiritual, although many doctors don't believe that spirituality has anything to do, but there are also researchers who have shown health benefits in copious amount as a result of spiritual practices. Spiritual practices, I would like to divide into four things. I would take little time to stress on this point.
Sure.
Intrapersonal means the person within himself has to carry out certain practices like maybe meditation, maybe prayer, maybe worshipping, or maybe any other kind of religion according to his own faith, pranayama. Now, these things will inculcate certain strong spiritual traits like forgiveness, optimism, resilience or repentance, veneration. You have to venerate people who are role models, empathy, gratitude, and so on, and countless others. Similarly, they
मैं एक मिनट इंटरप्ट करना चाहूंगी. ये नेचुरली आ नहीं जाते हैं as we grow old. They are part of natural growth of.
Very true, very true, very true. And that I think it's very true that as you step into the old age, these spiritual traits start entering into your psyche, into your persona.
Automatically.
But when you practice these things, what I mentioned about meditation and all those things, these are the things which further strengthen. And when these spiritual traits are strengthened, you're also pursuing an ethical conduct, then naturally you're not going to smoke, you are not going to drink, you are not going to do anything negative. So your health will definitely be better. That is intrapersonal. Then there is an interpersonal. Interpersonal means relation between you and others. So you inspect yourself, don't inspect the other.
Yes.
And if somebody has done good to you 30 years before, you have to always remember and try to repay whenever occasion arises. So interpersonal bonding is very important. And as I already said, that there are health benefits of benefit of social interaction, and this has the organic basis in the form of a hormone called oxytocin. Oxytocin is a bonding hormone. It's also called love hormone. It's also called trust hormone. It's also called cuddle hormone. It's all engraved into the interpersonal relationship.
Okay.
That is the second aspect of the spiritual or the sixth sense. The third aspect is environmental. Environmental means you have to, if you are able to go yourself in your old age, go out, see the setting sun, see the nature surrounding, see water lakes, water bodies, mountains and all that. If you are
Cities
not
में
able,
कहाँ मिलेगा ये सब?
दिल्ली में
Cities-
नहीं मिलेगा, बट आप हॉलीडे पे जा सकते हैं, आपकी फैमिली आपको ले जा सकती है, और आप छत पे जाके कम से कम सूरज तो देख ही सकते हैं.
मैंने सुना था कि अगर आप कहीं जा नहीं सकते तो you can watch the travel blogs, like travel videos.
ट्रेवल
Even that gives you, you know, some
भी है,
impact.
बिल्कुल. और बाकी जो है ये आपको वॉच के लो, ठीक है, आप अपनी आंखों से ये सब देख रहे हैं, बट आप जो है हियर करते. Another sense which you can use for environmental, you hear the bhajans, hear the old songs which you like. इसी तरह आप स्मेल टेस्ट को यूज कर सकते हैं. इंसेंस स्टिक्स हैं, वो घर में जलाइए, धूप बत्ती, उससे आपको एक एरोमा की एक खुशबू आएगी, वो भी आपको सेटिस्फाई करती है. तो ये सारी चीजें जो है एनवायरमेंटल है. चौथा जो है लास्ट, वो ट्रांसेंडेंटल है. उसमें आपको कोई ना कोई कंटेम्पलेशन मेथड में जाना पड़ेगा, चाहे वो ताई ची हो, चाहे मेडिटेशन हो, चाहे कोई गॉन्ग हो, बहुत सारे हैं. तो ये चारों चीजें अगर आप प्रैक्टिस करेंगे, विच यू आर लायबल टू डू इट व्हेन यू बिकम ओल्ड एंड ओल्ड एंड ओल्ड, then it is going to stand in good state for you.
Okay, let's change the topic a little bit and bring young people in.
Sure.
So if you were advising, हमारी अभी तक बातचीत हुई कि senior citizens के बारे में, right? What they should be doing. But if a 40-year-old was talking to you, what would be your advice to him or her? How to grow healthy, you know, how to have healthy aging for that person? Because they may live even longer than us. They're definitely going to live longer than us, right? So, and they should be starting early, I've heard you saying. But supposing, what's the age they should be starting and what they should be doing?
Well, if they like to listen to advice, I will definitely, but I have tons of suggestions for them.
Okay.
And I would say
के पास advices तो बहुत होती हैं वैसे.
नहीं, मैं कोशिश करूंगा अगर कोई सुनना चाहता है तो एडवाइस और सजेशन यही है कि देखिए, खाने के बारे में उनसे ये बोलूंगा कि भाई, अब ब्रॉड चीज है कि डोंट ओवर ईट. आजकल लोग जो है खूब पेट भर के खाना खाते हैं कई लोग.
Okay.
Don't overeat. The food that you leave on the table does more good to you than the food that you have eaten.
Okay.
That's important. Exercise के लिए मैं उन्हें यही बोलूंगा, if you do not find time for exercise in your busy schedule, you are going soon to find time for illness. That's the second thing. But medical advice apart, there are many other things that I could tell them. Be an extrovert, don't be an introvert. Surround yourself with lots of friends, and also try to follow a ethical conduct, and try to have a resilience by coping with day-to-day stresses. Here I have something special to tell you, that because you just talked about longevity a few moments before, that there are three bedrocks of longevity. One is health, we have talked. Happiness is another. I think no one will deny that happiness gives you a longevity. But third is facing the stress. You know, it is a misnomer that stress is bad for life. Stress is bad for life if it is sustained, long and chronic and severe stress. Like, for example, there is a lifelong poverty, or there is a widowhood for a long number of years, or somebody is battling in court cases for years together. This is all going to shorten your life, no doubt, I agree. But the mild and repeated stresses that you face are going to give you longevity. I'll tell you why. How?
अपने word use करो, repeated also.
Repeated. They have to be repeated. What are the repeated stresses? Let me talk of psychological stress as well. You know, we are always having a hassle of time. We are always beating deadlines, for example, all the time. Or we are stuck in traffic jams, gives frustration for some time. 15 minutes, 5 minutes sometimes. This is another. Or you are going to speak for a public gathering. You are a little tense. Oh, आज तो मुझे बोलना है वहाँ. Like
maybe
today,
I was.
maybe I was also there. So this is the kind of stress. So these stresses, or meeting the first date with your beloved, that also gives you a little tension. So these are the things which are working at the cellular level. And how they are working on cellular level? These things, all these mild intermittent stresses, they are generating in your body what is called free radicals.
Mm.
They are also increasing what is called natural inflammatory process in your body. They are all harmful.
Okay.
Oxidative damage, debris accumulation, these are harmful. So in response of these stresses, what happens? Our cells in the body, which have mitochondria, they are powerhouses of energy, these cells come into play.
Okay.
And they start clearing all this debris.
Okay.
And when they clear the debris, in the process, they overcompensate.
Oh.
No more new cells get generated.
Okay.
And when the more new cells are generated, the old cells are devoured, and you have a cellular longevity. And this cellular longevity at the tissue level is finally transpolated to the humanistic organism. So these repeated mild stresses are good.
That's a really good revelation. I think all of us feel daily stress हो रहा है, इस बात पे हो रहा है, उस बात पे हो रहा है. So I think now we will be less stressed about that stress. Maybe.
और दूसरी बात ये जो स्ट्रेस वाला मामला है, ये रिपीटेड जो स्ट्रेसेस होती हैं, इससे फायदा भी होता है, लोगों को मालूम नहीं. और अब तो रिसर्चर्स क्या कर रहे हैं कि वो वैक्सीनेशन, जैसे वैक्सीनेशन किसी बीमारी को रोकता है, वो स्ट्रेस इनोकुलेट कर रहे हैं. स्ट्रेस इनोकुलेशन, कोई थोड़ा थोड़ा स्ट्रेस दो इसको. स्ट्रेस बार बार हमें अगर आएगा तो हमारी कोपिंग एबिलिटी बढ़ेगी, रेजिलियंस बढ़ेगा.
Coping and resilience.
So I would always say कि भाई आलस ज्यादा मत करो, relaxation too much अच्छा नहीं है.
That's true. That's absolutely right. Sometimes we get into lazy habits, and you know, अभी क्या New Year resolutions चल ही रहे हैं सब लोगों के, so I think they are not gotten back into lazy schedule as yet. So we are talking about stress. Another issue which the seniors face is the loneliness, right? Which is not a stress. It is more lacking purpose, and having loneliness or isolation. So in Inspiring Seniors Foundation, we have some mentors who have also shared with us that research indicates that that mental health, loneliness, and mental health issues are the key reason for the seniors to fall into physical health issues. So our programs are designed that they can find a purpose. For example, our tutors program, mentors program. But in general, what would be your kind of message to the seniors that how they can rediscover purpose, or how they can contribute in giving back to the society, how they can stay relevant. For example, today everything is changing and they have so much of knowledge and wisdom, but they don't know what to do with it because nobody is wanting to I think ask them for it, or finding purpose. So these are some of the very big challenges besides the stress that we talked about earlier.
I think that's a very important question in the modern life today. And in our country we have about 140 million people aged 60 and above, and the largest group of these senior citizens are the ones who are poor, rural, uninformed, uneducated, and they have a fatalistic attitude, and some of them are lonely. They are even lonely within their families, in their own houses. Thanks to the modern era, that everybody doesn't have an eye-to-eye contact now in their own homes. Young children are busy with their mobiles. That relationship between grandfather and grandmother with the grandchildren is now getting eroded. So
the bonds are very weak.
Bonds have become weak, so people feel lonely. And in reality, there are also, I think, 8 to 10% of senior citizens are absolutely lonely. They have no one to look after. They are just alone. And I would say that the loneliness is closely intertwined with our social and mental psyche.
Okay.
You have to invade this problem of loneliness by initiatives which are directed both through the social pathway and the mental pathway. For the mental pathway, as I briefly said, there should be a formalized system for helping these elderly people to stimulate their brain.
Mm-hmm.
Once they keep their brain stimulated, they will discover something new. They will also discover a joy.
Mm-hmm.
I gave you an example learning a musical instrument. Even for a poor person, a flute is a cheap instrument. Or maybe for others, suppose you are going to buy a piece of furniture from market. These days, the furniture can also come as a packed furniture. So you bring that packed furniture and assembling yourself. Apply your mind to assemble it. That is one. New reading. Maybe if you are educated, you can give a new lecture or you can explore the internet. Befriend the grandchildren. Befriend the children and your own grandchildren. Because by befriending, you are playing with them, you are storytelling them, they are also respecting you and you're forging a bond. Chess playing, card playing, crossword puzzle, they are all useful. Like, and also encourage them to use both the hands so that both sides of the brains are stimulated.
I think this is a very good point that you say that both hands are very necessary. I think this is a very important point I learned.
Older ladies or middle-aged ladies, they have been knitting. And while knitting, their both hands are
using both hands.
Okay. So I sometimes tell my people, the elderly people, that you use the other hand also sometimes. Open the door with the left hand.
Left hand. Okay.
Or if you are screwdriving without getting any harm, try using left thumb to screw drive, those kinds of things. Or you
जो
fixing
हमारे
a bulb.
प्रेडोमिनेंट हाथ जैसे राइट हैंडर अगर हमें तो लेफ्ट हैंड यूज करें, लेफ्ट हैंडर है तो राइट हैंड यूज करें.
इसी तरह फन है. Do the fun with puzzles, healthy humor and jokes. I already told you. Imbibe a new language. And those kinds of things अगर formalize कर दें तो mental stimulation होगा. और जितने मैंने चीजें बताई हैं इसमें से कई चीजों में उसको joy भी महसूस होगा.
Yes.
He will probably come out of his shell of loneliness.
Okay.
That is one thing. जहाँ तक social उसका सवाल है, social initiative is also important. उसमें आप उनको बोलेंगे कि भाई आप ये काम करो, वो तो ऑलरेडी उनका फेटलिस्टिक एटीट्यूड है, वो करेंगे नहीं. तो आई थिंक उनको हैंड होल्डिंग की जरूरत है, चाहे वो एनजीओ की तरफ से हो, चाहे गवर्नमेंट की स्कीम बने. बट उसके बारे में आपको दो चीजें बताना चाहता हूँ कि रिसेंटली वी लॉस्ट ए जेवल called Mr. Ratan Tata.
Yes.
Mr. Ratan Tata was also a lonely person. I think, I'm not sure, but I think people know that he was a lonely person. And he identified a very empathetic young boy called Shantanu and encouraged him for erecting an establishment called Goodfellows. Now, what does this Goodfellows do? Goodfellows is an organization which pairs a lonely senior citizen with a younger volunteer. The lonely senior citizen is called Grandpa, and the younger is the grandkid. And they then pair with each other, and the elder person gets all the company, all other help which is needed. So this is a scheme which is now percolating in other cities also, after Mumbai and Pune. There's another scheme going on called Vradha Mitra. Yes. Vradha Mitra also has the same purpose. Okay. So I think this hand holding and bringing them out of the inner shell is the answer to combat loneliness.
Sure. Now, you have also often been a strong advocate of elderly self-help groups. आप उनकी भी बात करते हैं कि एक individual level पे भी और एक self-help group form करके भी, seniors can come together and contribute for nation building as well. Right. Personally, we feel that there is personally I feel that there is a lot more need for all of us to contribute to this. हम अपने individual level पे active रहें, at family level पे, society level पे, nation level पे, and then government policies also should be supportive of keeping seniors active and kind of engaged in the society. क्योंकि social milieu ऐसा ही होता जा रहा है कि families are getting smaller and smaller. People are living in different cities. Having the bond with grandchildren, आपने बात करा कि grandchildren से रखें, तो grandchildren भी अब different city में रहते हैं. But then the video call is a good medium to connect with them. And so there are ways that you can connect with your grandchildren even if they're not staying in the same city. So that's coming to this issue about grandchildren. Like grandchildren are always a bundle of joy for the grandparents, right? So like maybe as parents we were very conscious, very kind of bothered and worked up in bringing them up rightly, but the grandchildren are the ones who bring joy to us. But then I have also seen that uh, sometimes there is a disconnect in the way today's grandchildren are being brought up and the way the grandparent thinks about, and that disconnect then creates a distance also, like because the grandkid is very conversant with the latest technology and gadgets, and then what we are thinking is that that could be a way of digital literacy also, digital inclusion also, that the grandchildren could be teaching the seniors digital literacy, and they could be educating them, like you said, paying bills or hiring a cab or ordering groceries. That could be one way of connecting with grandchildren, maybe beyond storytelling of the traditional time, right? Now some lighter questions, that okay, before lighter questions, I would like definitely to have some comments from you on the whole concept of healthy aging. Like we are trying to shift from ageism, like looking at old people as as okay
In a negative
in a
light.
negative light compared to them, and now bringing them into the fold of more engaging and productive way of aging. What we wish to ask is that if you were to kind of convey in in a few words or in a few sentences healthy aging, what it would be and what should be done by a normal person, by an ordinary person, for healthy aging.
Well, I think during the whole course of our conversation, we have been talking directly and indirectly about healthy aging only. But I think I would briefly summarize on this that healthy aging has got two types of strategies. One is the visible strategy and the other is the invisible strategy. Visible strategy means eating proper, exercising well, sleeping sound, busting stress, quitting smoking and drinking. While the invisible strategies include the social enrichment, the spiritual enrichment, the cognitive stimulation or brain challenging, and finally having a non-fatalistic active attitude, which we have all discussed briefly. So that is my take as far as healthy aging approach is concerned.
You mentioned about diet, healthy diets, and we have a question. We have in the chat that young Khushbu has written, "How can I maintain a healthy diet during long working hours? Salad and all fruits. How can they have salad and fruits? They have long working hours. तो वो स्विगी और जोमेटो से तो ऑर्डर करना बहुत essential हो गया उनके लिए."
Well, I think for you it is very important to have healthy diet because you are preparing yourself ultimately for an era when you will also age someday. So I think you have to choose your diet according to the medical description. But I would suggest that do not give long hours of gap between the two meals. That is important. And do not go fast. If you do the fasting has to be done in a scientific manner, not in an haphazard manner. So I think the you already know, and I don't think I am going to prescribe here the intricacies and nitty-gritty of various diet constituents. So just according to your own convenience and the working hours, you can decide how frequent and what kind of diet you should take. Yeah. And also, I think you gave an earlier suggestion, then don't eat too much. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, don't, I think I heard a saying that 80% full. Yeah, like you should stop when your stomach is 80% full. And also, no excessive sugar, no excessive salt, no excessive spices. The 3S are important. And of course, it should be non-oily. Well, all the spice of life will go then, I guess, for many of the people. Yeah. Okay. So now some lighter questions. So you, all of us have bucket list कि हम ये करना चाहेंगे, ये travel करना चाहेंगे, ये करना चाहेंगे. आपकी bucket list में क्या क्या बाकी है? मैंने तो सारी लाइफ हर चीज मुझे कंटेंटमेंट हो गया, सभी कुछ कर लिया है, लेकिन मोक्षा प्राप्त हो गया आपको? है मोक्षा हो गया? नहीं, मोक्ष तो खैर कहाँ होगा, मैंने भी पता नहीं कितने पाप किए होंगे अब तक. तो मैं तो ये कहना चाहता हूँ कि what I want to do in the remaining part of my life, I want to explore further the solid evidence of health benefits accruing from social, mental, and spiritual engagement, particularly the spiritual engagement. There are so many papers written कि ये करो तो आपको health benefit होगा. But I have heard and I have also read there are science papers कि हम जब spirituality practice करते हैं तो आपको जो stress हार्मोन कम हो जाता है, cortisol कम हो जाता है, inflammatory markers हैं, CRP है, ESR है, इंटरल्यूकिन है, ये कम हो जाते हैं. आपको हैप्पी हार्मोन ज्यादा बनने लगते हैं, उससे हेल्थ अच्छी होती है, हैप्पीनेस आ जाती है, और आपका इम्यून फंक्शन है, एंडोक्राइन हार्मोन फंक्शन है, न्यूरोलॉजिकल फंक्शन है, किडनी फंक्शन है, सब इंप्रूव होते हैं. मैं इन चीजों को और ज्यादा एक्सप्लोर करना चाहता हूँ. ये मेरी एक इम्पोर्टेंट बकेट लिस्ट है.
चलिए वी विल ट्राई कि हम एज एन हमारी एनजीओ में हम ये सब काम कर भी रहे और इनके ऊपर रिसर्च भी करना चाहते हैं, because evidence is very necessary, whenever one is, there should be evidence to the projects, to the impact that we are wanting to make, whether that impact is happening or not. So you're very welcome to guide us on that. I would say.
Thank you.
And if there is a, you have all of us have comfort food. Sweets हमेशा सब लोगों को पसंद आते हैं, किसी को कुछ और salty भी savour things भी पसंद आती हैं. What is your comfort food that you think everyone should try at least once? गाजर का हलवा?
Man, I like at this stage of my life, I only like the homemade food, simple food, and of course.
एक डिश चुननी पड़ेगी.
एक डिश चुननी पड़ेगी. मुझे तो हर एक डिश बहुत अच्छी लगती है. मैं कैसे चुनूं कौन सी डिश अच्छी है?
आजकल विंटर्स है.
कहने के लिए मैं वही कह देता हूँ गाजर का हलवा, लेकिन बट एक्सेस में कुछ नहीं. एक्सेस में कुछ.
Okay. And if you're this life of 87 years was a book, what would be its title?
Well, I would like to write a book on my views on aging. अगर आपको कैची टाइटल चाहिए तो मैं कहूँगा कि I want to die young but as late as ever.
Of course, there are. I forget his name. He was recently in India also. That American entrepreneur who's trying to beat the age, and through multiple, science, through extreme science, I would say. But yes, of course. Let's have some very quick, one word questions.
Sure.
No long answers to this. Okay. What's your favorite book or author?
A Guide to Fitness for Senior Citizens, published by Ministry of Health.
ये थोड़ी बोरिंग लग रही है.
पढ़ा आपने?
नहीं, पर बोरिंग नाम से ही लग रही है.
मैं तो हर एक सीनियर सिटीजन कहूँगा ये पढ़ेगा.
Okay, noted. A place that you would like to visit again?
Kerala, which I have already visited many times.
Okay. Are you a morning person or a night owl?
I used to be a night owl, but now I'm a morning person.
I'm tempted to ask a question on the night owl, but I'll avoid it right now.
Okay.
What's one word that would define a happy life? One word.
Contented life.
Okay. A song that feels like your life's anthem, you feel happy about.
This, if you permit me, I will. It cannot be one word. I have to give few hints.
आप गा के सुनाइए.
अच्छा, ठीक है. ये मैं आपको अर्थवेदा से एक प्रेयर सुना रहा हूँ जिसको कहते हैं प्रेयर फॉर लॉन्गिविटी.
ओके, जरूर.
100 autumns may we live, 100 autumns we may see, 100 autumns we may hear, 100 autumns we may know, 100 autumns we may grow, 100 autumns we may thrive, 100, yeah, and even more.
Wow.
Thank you.
That's very nice. So that means 100.
100.
शतक एक सेंचुरी मान.
कोशिश कर रहे हैं.
Okay, नहीं ठीक है. That's very nice. Thank you so much, Dr. Kumar.
That's my pleasure.
What a pleasure. It was incredible. I think you took us through the incredible journey.
Pleasure, and you have given me an opportunity of putting, if not vomiting out, all my ideas. Thank
Yes.
you so much.
No, that was a secret agenda to have the digital recording of all your thoughts and all your But seriously, on a serious note, it was very captivating and very enriching, and I'm sure our audience also found it equally enriching, and they are feeling inspired. I am inspired. There are many takeaways for me, and we have started this program called Knowledge Cafe, which is to help bring the knowledge and wisdom of seniors, inspiring seniors to everyone. And we look forward to sharing more amazing stories of more fascinating people. So stay tuned.
I wish you great success in your endeavor.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Stay tuned. Thank you. Subscribe to our channel also.
Thank you.